Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. This evening, my guest will be Miss Jacqueline Deas from FutureStart Corporation. How you doing there, Miss Deas?
Hi, how are you, Paul?
Great. And yourself?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on the show.
No, thank you for coming on the show, educating the community on the FutureStart. Tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Sure. I'm a new plant in Charlotte, if you will. I was recently married, and prior to that, I lived in Greensboro, in San Diego. My background is in mental health counseling, and I have a master's in school counseling as well as a master in marriage and family therapy.
FutureStart, tell us a little bit about that. What is that?
Sure. FutureStart was birthed as a result of my layoff. I could either do one of two things. After being laid off, I could either continue waiting and applying for jobs, or I could become proactive and put my talents and skills to use. So I decided that I would blend my experience as a counselor, a writer, a public speaker, and create a vehicle to help transform the lives of others. And FutureStart is a personal and professional development company that helps youth and adults redesign their lives.
Okay, one of the key things that I liked about what you said now is instead of waiting, you started your own company.
Yes.
How important was that as far as stepping out on faith and doing something like that? Because a lot of people are afraid to start a business.
Absolutely. I believe if you have a talent, you have skills, and you have the desire and the passion, there is definitely a way to profitize from your passion. And it does involve stepping out on faith. I think every entrepreneur at some point had a turning point, and my turning point was the result of a layoff. And I meet many entrepreneurs who step out on faith and begin creating instead of waiting for something to happen.
What exactly does FutureStart do?
Sure, we provide resources in the forms of seminars, training, consulting, courses, webinars, ebooks that are designed to help people live life to the fullest and transform their lives.
Live life to the fullest. What do you mean by that?
Living life to the fullest means being successful and maximizing your potential. That's what it means. And leaving no room for error, for lack, for wishing, but basically living the life that you see yourself living.
Is that something that you teach, or does a person have to have, you know what I'm saying, within themselves, that self-esteem to want to do things like that?
Absolutely. Self-esteem is important because you have to know that you deserve, first of all, to live a life to the fullest. Until a person knows and believes that they deserve better, they will continue, I believe, living a life of mediocrity. So it is important to have something within you that says you deserve the best.
Okay, as far as the FutureStart, where did the name come from?
Sure, my mentor helped me with that name. FutureStart's purpose is helping people get on track and actually getting a new start or creating a new future for themselves. So you're really, I guess you could say, starting or redesigning your future, because everything that we do today or tomorrow really affects our future.
Okay, you recently just got married.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
How important is having John into your life right now, and as far as your company?
Well, John is a very important part in my life, and because of him, I'm able to do what I do today. So his support, I mean, I can't put a value or price tag on it. He's emotionally, spiritually supportive, financially supportive, and he's just a great guy. He believes in me, my mission, and I often refer to him as my editor-in-chief because he's an excellent writer. So before I send something out, he'll edit and say, well, Jackie, maybe you should do this. So he's extremely supportive in so many ways, and I'm very thankful for him.
That's great. That's great. Okay, You talked a little about the Future Start and how self-esteem. What are some of the basic things that you see within an individual that your program can help?
Sure. My program really helps people who are motivated but feeling stuck. Sometimes people want to change and they may not necessarily know how to go about changing their lives, or how to set effective goals, or how to adopt new habits or attitudes that really serve them. So my work is centered around helping people who are already motivated, and helping them carve out a path to go where they see themselves going.
It may be sometimes a difficult thing to do. How hard is it to assist people in that type of situation?
Well, for one, Paul, people really have to be motivated. I believe if a person is motivated and they are coachable, I mean, it creates an opportunity for growth. For a person who's not coachable or motivated, they tend to stay where they are and continue getting the same results. So it's for a person who's motivated, it can be easier task. And if they're open to looking at the beliefs or attitudes or behavior that's standing in the way of their progress, it can be a great experience.
What does the quote, positive thinking creates positive result, what would that mean to you?
That's absolutely true. You know, there's a popular Bible verse that says, "As a man thinketh, he is," and you could really tie that to positive thinking, because I believe we really become what we think about. If we constantly expect bad results, or we say, you know, I just have bad luck, nothing good happens for me, we tend to attract those types of situations. And sometimes our thoughts can cause us to repel success. So positive thinking is important.
How long is your program?
We have several, we have a 10-week course called Making It a Reality, and it refers to whatever your goal is. It's 10 weeks, meets once a week for about an hour and 15 minutes. We also have webinars online so that anyone across the country can participate, and we also have seminars that are typically an hour or two.
Okay, as the week goes on, what do you hopefully to give to that individual?
Sure. We cover a number of topics. One is looking at your belief system or the story that you're telling yourself. Because one of the first things we have to do is identify where you are emotionally, mentally, the story that you're telling yourself.
Right.
We look at goals, looking at where you want to go, goal mapping, taking responsibility, unfinished business. There are a number of topics that we address to help people.
You talked about goal. How vital is it to have goals into your life?
It's extremely important, and not just having a goal, but having a system to achieve that goal. Because as we know, most people have New Year's resolutions in the beginning of the year. Things like, I want to lose weight, or I'm going to go back to school.
Correct.
But unless we really set some, I say, put some meat on the skeleton, then it's just going to be, I call it a best wish. It's just going to be something that you continue wishing. So it's important to develop a system to achieve your goals. Make it specific. What do you want to do? If you want to lose weight, how many pounds do you want to lose? When do you want to lose it by? What are you going to do? When will you start? So it's important to do the work that's required to reach the goals. And our program helps people do that.
Okay, you're saying that they have to put in some work in doing this. As far as people that's come in to help you, do you see that happening? I know you have a great program like that, but some people you just can't change.
Absolutely, and really, you're right. We can't change. The only change, people have to change themselves. Really, as with anything, if someone goes to a doctor and the doctor says you need to lay off the salt or you need to do this, the doctor can provide some feedback or some recommendations, but unless they're really willing to become healthy and to change their lifestyles, then they'll continue with the results. And that's in any area, whether it's relationships, goals.
I know you do a lot of seminars. What do you do in your seminars?
Sure. One seminar that we have coming up is called The Key to Redesigning Your Life. And that is a seminar that helps people take a look at where they are, where they're going, again, goals. A lot of my work is centered around goals. We actually set goals, what's called SMART goals. We do a habit inventory, and that means we take a look at the habits that you're doing on a daily basis that are sabotaging you or habits that are catapulting you. So we take a look at those, the relationships, are they toxic, are they constructive? So we take a look at any number of those things to really help them grow and build themselves.
Do you see yourself as doing a lot of counseling?
I do, but now I'm doing more coaching. My background is counseling.
Okay.
I prefer to work with people who are interested in being coached because we do a lot of the goal setting, and instead of spending a lot of time looking on the past or what has created something, we are more present and future oriented, looking at what are we going to do now to get you to where you want to go.
And how important is that to stop dwelling on the past and looking into the present and the future? How important is that?
It's extremely important, and I'm not denying that there are circumstances in the past that have shaped us. I mean, that's certainly true, but it's also important to move on and take responsibility for where you are now and for where you're going, because it's very easy to blame your parents, you could blame the kids, the way you grew up, the neighborhood that you grew up
Correct.
in, and it gets to a point where you put that aside and say, okay, where am I now, and what am I going to do right now to change this? And also have to take a look at the part that we play in maintaining what's going on right now. Sometimes we are enabling a situation or maintaining or sustaining a situation without even realizing it.
You mentioned a key word that I was going to bring up: responsibility. How vital is that to have, just like you said, taking responsibility of where you're at in different situations? How important is it to take that responsibility?
It's extremely important, Paul. I can't stress it enough. Responsibility it's miraculous, really, because when you take responsibility, you're also saying that you're taking your power back and saying that you also have the power to change or improve your situation. And when you're blaming other external situations, or I even hear a lot of people blame God, they blame the devil, but until you really stop and say, what can I do to change this? How can I participate in my own life? I think that's extremely important.
Okay, I know we have people that's in our lives, our partners and all that. How important is it to have that support from our partners? And how effective is that as far as us, having a success, being successful?
Sure, it's very important, and because everyone needs support. When you're in a relationship where you're not supported, where someone does not believe in your talents or they're not behind you, you really feel like you're trying to conquer the world alone, and that creates another set of stressors.
Correct.
So it is important to have support and to also evaluate how your relationships are helping you grow. If you find that they are taking more away from you than they're giving to you, then it's probably a good time to reevaluate that relationship.
When someone completes your program, how does that make you feel, inside, knowing that you had a part in them improving their lives?
I feel very blessed. I feel fortunate that I was able to be a vehicle in that person's life. And not only do they walk away with some new direction and goals, but it helps me as well because I'm constantly learning from everyone that I work with. I believe we could learn something from. So it is a good feeling because, again, I see my purpose and passion being lived out.
Where do you see yourself at 5 years from now?
I sure, I see myself still working, coaching, consulting, training. I would like to start a magazine. So that's something that's very important. I've written for several magazines for women and some national magazines. So I'd like to add that to my work as well and work on some more books.
Writing.
Yes.
Why do you get that feeling right? What do you like writing about?
I like writing articles or books that are related to self-improvement and empowerment. Don't know why, but that's always been, my writing has always been non-fictional self-improvement. And I have 3 books now that I've completed, actually.
What's the most feeling that you get from your books?
The feeling when people read the books and they tell me how they were encouraged or inspired, I mean, that helps me know that my work was not in vain.
Correct.
And that, and to also continue. So that's really the biggest feeling of knowing that I'm playing a part in someone's growth or just inspiring and encouraging them.
When you do your books, does it say something about Jacqueline? You know, when you write?
Do I put myself in there?
Correct.
Yes, I do. I put myself actually in most of my books because I think it's important for readers to connect with the author. If it's just a book and they don't feel any connection, then I think it takes away from a book. So I do put something in there about myself, my life. In one of my books, Desperate for Change, How to Recreate Yourself and Live the Life You Deserve, I talked about my life, how I was at a turning point where I felt stuck. You know, I did all the things I was told to do. You grow up, you go to school, you get a degree, you go to church, and you do all those things, but I was at a point where my life still felt very empty, and I was not meeting my goals. So at that point, I went on a journey, and out of that, grew the book, or was the book Desperate for Change was birthed. So I talked a lot about my life and some adversity that I experienced.
What would you consider to be one of the biggest adversity you had here?
I'll tell you, one of the biggest challenges that I dealt with in my adult life was losing my baby sister when I was in grad school in San Diego. She was 22 years old, a student at University of Maryland who died suddenly. And so she was going to come to San Diego to live with me once she finished school. And she was very much like a daughter, really. So that was challenging because it took a lot of wind out of my sails and having to regroup and trying to finish school, being 3,000 miles away from home and not having the support there. So that was a challenge.
How did you make it through?
Well, my faith, number one. I surrounded myself with people who allowed me to grieve, because when you go through adversity, you do have to grieve, and sometimes people are uncomfortable with the grieving, the crying, but I really surrounded myself with people who allowed me to go through that period. I tried not to linger there too long, but when you're in it, you don't think about how long you're going to stay there, you just think about getting through. But really it was my faith that moved me through that. Faith and focus.
How important is it to stay focused? Because there's so many things that's going on in our lives, and sometimes it gets challenging.
Focus is very important, and one of the pieces of being able to stay focused is understanding what your purpose is. When you understand what your purpose is, it helps you decide what to focus on and what not to focus on. So, even in the situation with my sister, though I had to take a break, I had to make a decision of when I was also going to resume. So for someone who's watching, my words of encouragement would be to know when to resume.
Did you ever think about giving up?
No, that was not an option. I didn't. But I'm sure there are some people who do think about giving up. And I think when people feel that their situation is hopeless or they don't have any control over it, there's nothing that they can do, eventually they shift to a feeling of hopelessness, helplessness, and when you're in that victim mode, it is very common to feel like giving up. And my words to someone who feels like giving up is, again, is to look at, to take responsibility and look for ways that they can improve their lives. Closing some doors, opening some doors, and that's often the work that we do is helping people look at the things they can do
Correct.
to change.
Does this help you when you're dealing with your organization, you know, your past and what you've went through, deal with some of the other individuals and what they're going through?
Absolutely, because pain is, it doesn't matter what has caused a person's pain, whether it's a death, whether it's an illness or a job loss or a divorce. Pain is pain and it hurts. So I think when anyone has experienced pain, regardless of its source, it helps you become more sympathetic and empathetic with others who are also experiencing pain.
Okay, I know you said when you lost your job.
Yes.
We have a lot of people in our community who lose their job. What type of information would you give them?
Sure. To someone who has lost a job, I would say to remember that you've lost your job and not your skills. And when you start looking for ways that you could transfer your skills either to another job or even in creating a job, I think the load becomes lighter. Yes, there is a high unemployment rate right now,
Correct.
and a lot of people are jobless. Also, small businesses tend to boom during periods of economic crises because a lot of people do shift from, let me stop waiting, you're waiting for someone to call you about a job, to looking at how they can recreate themselves and also create a profitable business for themselves. If it's baking cakes or taking care of people's children, writing, I mean, everyone has a talent or something that they can do.
You seem to have a lot of passion for FutureStart.
Yes.
Where's that passion coming from?
My passion comes from wanting to see people happy, successful, and wanting to just see people connect with their purpose. And all day, if you were around me, I'm constantly encouraging someone, inspiring someone. I mean, that's just what I do. It's just in me. I have no idea why, but that's just who I am.
It's a good feeling, isn't it?
It is. It is.
What does happiness mean to you?
Happiness to me, Paul, is several things. There are several core areas in our lives. Happiness is, for me, good health, good relationships, being connected spiritually, also taking time out, giving back to the community. That's what happiness is for me. It's all encompassing. It's not based on just one thing.
Where do you see FutureStart going? Where do you want it to go?
I want FutureStart to continue impacting the local community as well as the community on a national level. My goal is to continue providing seminars. Within the next few years, I'd really like to plan a national seminar, an expo where people from all over the country can attend, and we're working on that. But the passion or the goal is to make sure that we are inspiring, helping people transform their lives, helping people redesign themselves. So that's our work is always going to be based on that.
How important has networking been in your development as far as being a CEO? Networking with other organizations and individuals?
Networking is very important because In networking, I get an opportunity to find out what the resources are that are in the community to help clients that I work with. And I also get an opportunity to meet like-minded people. So it's extremely important.
Okay, we're running short on time. If someone wanted to get in contact with you, how would they get in contact with Jacqueline Deas?
Sure, they could contact me via email, which is jdeas, D-E-A-S, at futurestart.us, or our website is www.futurestart.us, and our local number is 704-612-0152.
Haptitude, what does that mean?
Haptitude is a combination of habits and attitude, and it involves taking a look at those habits and attitudes that will help you become successful. Studies show that successful people, leaders, are more disciplined, and they incorporate habits into their daily lives that help them. That could be getting up at a certain time in the morning, reading, self-improvement, exercising. So it takes a look at the blend of habits and attitudes.
If you had one thing to say to our viewing audience, what would you say about FutureStart?
I would say to them about FutureStart is if you're interested in improving your life, getting unstuck, or getting some new tools that will help you reach your goals, to give us a call. And I would also say to them to be encouraged and to remember and to really tap into the genius within them, because each of us has genius within us that's sometimes waiting to be discovered.
What separates FutureStart from the other programs that's out there?
Well, I could tell you that I believe FutureStart is very holistic. We cater to both young adults as well as adults. We provide resources as well, books, the seminars. We've worked with businesses. So we are a very diverse organization, and we're constantly looking for ways to stay on the cutting edge. We use technology so that we're able to have a national and international impact on people's lives.
Continued success, Ms. Deas.
Thank you.
In FutureStart, and anytime you want to come back, you're more than welcome to come back.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
Thank
Audience,
you.
thank you for watching the show, and you be encouraged. Thank you.